I believe the Buffalo Bills will go 14-3 and win the AFC East this year. They're a really, really good team. They went to the AFC title game last year. They lost to Kansas City. And they kept everybody together, really. They kept people together, and they actually added a player or two here. So I think Buffalo is even better than they were last year. And that's a big deal that they kept their team together. They are a team that they have this unified feeling of unfinished business. They are trying to win a Super Bowl. In fact, they kept their offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll. I thought he was going to leave and go be a head coach somewhere else. So that was a big deal. I really like the mojo they got going on in Buffalo. They brought back linebacker Matt Milano. He re-signed. Left guard John Feliciano came back. And this team is a stacked roster. They really only have one weak spot, which I would call a true weakness, and then one spot that I think is a concern or a question. But let's start with the good stuff about Buffalo. Their quarterback, Josh Allen, is amazing. He's if not the best young quarterback in the NFL, he's definitely one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. Easily the best quarterback in his division, the AFC East. He could win the NFL MVP this year. He got a big extension, well-deserved. He is incredible. I love watching Josh Allen play football. They also, talking about quarterbacks, they added a backup quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky, to the Bears roster. The Bills roster. He left the Chicago Bears to come to the Bills. I like Trubisky as a backup. I always was hard on Trubisky. I would not build my franchise around him. But if Josh Allen gets hurt for a game or two, Trubisky's a guy who's played in a lot of games. He's won games. He has a similar skill set, albeit not as effective as Josh Allen. But he can run around and keep plays alive. So I think Trubisky is literally the perfect backup in Buffalo. Wide receivers in Buffalo, they have Stephon Diggs, a star, had a huge impact last year, made them way, way better. Cole Beasley's really good, catches a lot of passes. They also added former Saints receiver Emmanuel Sanders. I like this Buffalo receiving core. I like the Bills running backs. They have Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, Matt Breida. Really, really great. And I think Devin Singletary is an example of, man, the Giants did the wrong thing by drafting Saquon Barkley number 2 overall. I will say this till I die. Do not draft a running back in the top 5. It's not worth it. You can get too much value later in the draft. And you look at this Buffalo Bills running back core, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, Matt Breida. None of them are top 5 picks, and they're going to be really effective and really good all year. Now, on defense, you've got a great secondary in Buffalo. Tre'Davious White at corner is a guy that quarterbacks will avoid. He's a shutdown corner. He's fantastic. You got 2 good safeties, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. Now, I mentioned that Buffalo had a weakness. Here it is. Levi Wallace is we'll call him the other corner, right? He's not, the corner not named Tre'Davious White is the other corner, the number 2 corner. Still a starter, but not as good. And that is the guy that opposing quarterbacks are going to attack and go after. If I'm the quarterback, I'm not throwing the ball to Tre'Davious White's side, but a team like Arizona, who's got multiple receivers, Tennessee's another team like that, where, Tre'Davious White can't just line up on the best receiver. They're going to need help from the other guy, and any team that has multiple receivers is going to attack Levi Wallace all day with their second best guy, and I think that's a weakness on this football team. Now, linebacker Tremaine Edmonds is amazing. The defensive line is another. I don't know that they're a weakness. I said, one's a weakness. Levi Wallace is a weakness. The defensive line is more of a question mark. Where last year they did not get after quarterbacks well enough. They have 2 starting defensive ends, Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison. They have defensive tackle Star Lotulelei, who will not play week 1, got a calf injury, and Ed Oliver. They're both very good. But what's new this year in Buffalo, they added even more depth. First of all, they drafted A.J. Epinesa from Iowa last year in the second round in the 2020 NFL draft. And then this year, in the 2021 NFL draft, in the first round, they drafted Greg Rousseau. He's got a ton of talent. I want to see him develop, but he's crazy talented, and Greg Rousseau could become their next starting defensive end who does a great job. And then they drafted Boogie Basham. That's such a hard name. Boogie Basham. They drafted him in the second round. So Buffalo is investing in their defensive line, which is why I'm not going to call it a weakness just yet. Let's wait a couple weeks, see how good they are. But right now I have a question about Buffalo's defensive line. If they can get after quarterbacks, then they will no longer be a question. It will be confirmed, hey, they are exactly what they needed in Buffalo. The Bills should win the AFC East. They have a loaded roster. They have the best quarterback in the division. Again, my concerns are the number 2 corner, Levi Wallace, and can the defensive line get pressure on opposing quarterbacks? Now, in the first 6 games, Buffalo will play 5 potential playoff teams. They play the Steelers, then they play at Miami, Washington, at Kansas City, and at Tennessee. Those are really tough games to start your year. And however, I will say, like, because I have Buffalo going 14-3, and I think they're a really good football team, they're a team that can go on the road to Kansas City and win, on the road to Tennessee and win, at Miami win football games. Like, I have a lot of supreme confidence in this Buffalo football team. I think they're a team that is a Super Bowl contender. And as long as, I don't know, like, I can't really think of, like, what could throw this team off. It's maybe, like, obviously Josh Allen can't get hurt, but there's a lot of depth here. There's a really good football team in place, and I like their coaching staff. The Bills are going to go 14-3 and have a shot to win a Super Bowl this year.